In this video, we're going to be learning about how to add some style to our page. So if you see here, I made a little website about my late cat, Dakota. He died a few years ago, so I made him this website. You could see I've written his name, a few facts, and I added a picture. But this website looks so boring. I want it to look good, so I need to use CSS to do it. So to add CSS, I'm going to actually open up a new file. It's index.css. You can probably find it over here, or you can find it on top. And we're going to put this new language, which is different than HTML, into this file. Now, let's start with the basics here. The first thing people usually want to do is just change the background color, right? So the way CSS works is that you need a selector, and then you could style that thing. So by selector, I mean, well, if I want to style the entire page, that's called the body. So that's my selector. So I'm going to put that here. I'm styling the body, and then I put curly braces. Now the next part is to say, what is the property of the body that I'm going to style? And that is the background. Now notice how this thing pops up? This gives you suggestions. So sometimes you might forget what you want to do. This allows you to just have like a quick drop down and be like, oh, that's the thing, background, of course. Now the really super simple way to do it is just to put purple, and that would be his favorite color, so I could put purple there. Also, just a reminder, remember color picker? You could pick it from here, and we could use an RGB code. You might remember RGB back from the P5 days, so I could just do RGB, put that there, and then I can get a nice little RGB code going there. Now, sometimes people actually want to put an image, so let me show you how to do that. So what I could actually do here is put URL and put quotes, and then inside the URL, we could put another image. So my cat used to love to eat grass. So let's find a picture of some grass. Okay. Oh, that's a great picture. I'm going to copy the image address, and then I'm going to put that in the URL. And notice now, looks great. But we have a problem. I can't see the text anymore. It doesn't really look good. So maybe I want to change the color. So I'm going to change the color of this one. Now, I just want to say there's a quick problem here. Do you see how this one, where it says my name is Dakota, and this one, and I'm the best cat in the world, they both have the same selector of H1. Now, what if I were to style it? So let's say I use that selector H1, and I said something like color, which changes the color of the font to white. Notice how they both change. Now, the problem is I don't want them both to change, okay? I want only the top one. Well, we could solve this by giving our element an ID. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say ID equals, and then what I can do is give it its own name. So I'm going to call this the title, right? This is like the title, so let's give it a name of title. And now what I can do is change this to hashtag, which means ID of title. And now the selector only works on this because this is the only thing with the ID of title. All right? So when you put a hashtag there, that means look for the thing with the ID of title, and that's this. So you'll be giving your elements a lot of IDs because you'll probably want to style one thing at a time. So give it an ID, it's a unique name, and then you could style it by that ID just by giving it that hashtag. Now, also let's center it. So what we could use is called the text align property. We could say center. We could probably make it a little bit bigger. So let's say like font size, font dash size, and let's make it 50 pixels. That's pretty big. Let's make it a little, we could do bigger than that, right? 80. Nah, too big. And then maybe we could even give this a background color. So I could say background, let's find ourselves, where was that purple again? Let's get that purple back. Yes, purple, yes. RGB, we get purple in there. Now that look how much better this site looks already. Oh, I love it. All right, now this second line over here, let's give this some of its own styles. What I'm going to do is give this a different ID. We could call this actually I'll call this secondary title because it's not the title, it's the secondary title. All right, and what I'll go here, and I'll just go like this, hashtag secondary title. What a terrible name. I hate that name so much. And now we can start styling it again. So let's give it, oh, and I forgot to say, always put these semicolons after your code. If you don't do it, then it's not going to work. See, like, look what happens when I take this out. Breaks. So make sure you have your semicolons at the end of each line of code. Okay, let's go back to this. So the secondary title. Well, I also want to center this, so let's do text align center. Let's also give it a cool background. Maybe give it a background of black. Let's do the font color of yellow. Yes. Actually, come on, let's be better than that. Let's get a yellow over here. Oh yeah, I like that one. That's my RGB code. RGB, boom. Okay, now I'm looking really good. Sweet. Now, these are looking good, but also I want to add a little bit more space. There's not enough space between things. I kind of want to spread things out a little bit. And if you want to add space, what you can use is something called margin. So what I'm going to do is add some margin to the top of it. And what I'm going to add is 100 pixels to the top. And notice how now I have a lot of space over here. And let's add a little bit of margin to the bottom too. So I'm going to say margin bottom, 100 pixels. And now I have this nice spacey thing, right? A little bit more modern, a little bit nicer looking. That's looking a lot better. So margin creates space between the top and the bottom. So margin top adds 100 pixels here and 100 pixels here. Loving how this is looking so far. Now we might also want to change the fonts, right? This website's looking a little bummy. So let's make it look a little bit nicer. So what I could do is go to Google Fonts. All right. And let's find ourselves a good font here. So hold on, let me empty out this for a second. All right, so let's find a good looking font, because that really is what makes a website look professional. And I have to say, I love it. Lexan Giga. Oh, beautiful. What I'm gonna do is gonna get this font right here, and I'm gonna then press Get Embed Code. All right, now there's two things that you really need from this. Let's just be clear. You need this part, which is like every font is actually like it's like all little images. Like it's an image of an A, a B, a C. So this downloads that font onto the computer of whoever's looking at your website. So we're going to add that to the head right under where it says link index.css. So I'm going to add these links in. Okay, so notice how I add those in. I have a bunch more links. Now the font didn't change yet, so there's a second step. See where it says font family? This is the most important part. Font family, and then we have to tell it what font we want. So let's say I wanted to add this font to the title, and maybe we just do it to the second one as well, so we can change the font here. So now we have these. So look how great this is looking already. Oh, I love it. All right, now I have these p tags over here. Let's say I wanted to style these all the same thing. I could use the p tag, but that's not actually the best way to do it. When you want to style multiple things the same way, what we're going to do is use something called a class. And what we're going to call these is, we'll call these, cat fact. All right. So we're going to put all of these in the same class, and cat fact and class equals cat fact. And just to be clear, IDs have to be unique. Only one thing could have an ID. All right, I can't use them twice. Classes are when you want to have multiple things in the same with the same style. So since I want these three to have the same style, what I'm then going to do is come back up here, go back to index, and what I could do is say this. Dot, that's for class. Hashtag is for ID. Cat fact. And what we can do now is let's give this a better background. Let's give it a background of, let's give it a nice blue, right? Let's go over here. Ooh, that's a nice one. It's even kind of purplish, so I'm gonna say RGB. Oh yeah, looking great. Let's make this bold, right? So I'm gonna say background, I'm just gonna say, sorry, font, weight, bold. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Let's do font size. Let's make these 20 pixels. And let's actually add a border around them, huh? Let's do border. I'm going to say 3 pixels. I'm going to say, then I'll say, what's it called? It's border, 3 pixels, black. And then, oh man, dashed. Yeah, there's other ones. What was I going to say? I gotta look it up. CSS border. I don't know why. So this is what you gotta do sometimes. Borders on all sides. double solid. Man, dude, I'm losing my mind. You could also do solid, right? So that looks good. I kind of like the dashed. We'll leave it as solid. So those are the three things you have to put. So 3 pixels. If I put like 10 pixels, notice how it gets a little bit thicker. Do 1 pixel, that's not too much. Maybe 2 pixels. You could also change the color here to an RGB. Doesn't really matter. Maybe I could pick a nice green here. Boom. And I'll say RGB. Oop. And you can see, oh. Oh, is it because that's too close in color? Oh yeah, that's whack. I'll pick the same color twice. And then we'll do this. All right. All right, great. So the last thing is I really want to show you about how to change images. So let's give this, there's only one image, so we can just give it an ID. So I'll say ID equals cat pick. All right. So what I'm going to say here is cat pick. And to change the size of it, what you could do is you could say width, and you could set it to a specific amount, like 500 pixels. And what that means is that as the website changes, notice how the cat pick is always 500 pixels. A better way to do it is to make it responsive. So what I could say is I want it to be 60%, which means I want it to be 60% of the page at all times. So if the website's super small, notice how the cat gets smaller. But if it gets bigger, notice how the page gets bigger, because it's always going to be 60% of the page. Maybe we'll make it 80%. And then also people say, like, why can't we center it? Well, that's easy to do. 2 lines of code. I'll say display block, and then we'll say margin auto. So that automatically sets the equal amount on both sides so it's centered. Now this cat is looking dope. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to make a hover effect. Those are kind of fun. So what we're going to do is make the title hover. So I'm going to put title over here. And to make a title a hover effect is I'm going to just put :hover. And then I say here, what property do I want to change when I hover over that element? So let's say I wanted the color to change to black, and we'll say the background to change to yellow. Well, we already did that. Let's make it green. So let me see if I can find a green here. Right. So I got my RGB. So I'll do RGB. Okay. So check it out. So now whenever I hover over the title, what it'll do is change the color to black and the background to that. And notice how now I have this nice little hover effect. Nice, right? Well, that's a much better looking website now. All I needed was just a little bit of CSS. Just a few reminders. Remember, what we're going to do is use IDs. You got to add IDs if you want to style one thing. You could use classes if you want to style multiple things with the same way. And don't forget hashtag for IDs, dots for titles, and these are all the great properties you use. There's many more out there. Just your Google search away. Anything that you want a website to do, I'm telling you, if you Google it, someone's answered the question. Like it's all out there. All right, good luck. That's how you style a page.